Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. The question is asking a very important question here. Are we allowed to seek knowledge from those people who we are not sure when it comes to their manhaj and their methodology? Now, to answer this question, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, إذا سمعتم آيات الله يكفر بها ويستهزئ بها فلا تأخذوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره إنكم إذا مثلهم إن الله جامع المنافقين والكافرين في جهنم جميعا. Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 140. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits us from sitting with the people of desires, people of nifaq, those people who do not respect the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This ayah, if you look at the tafsir of this ayah, you will find that there are many from the ulama of tafsir and the salaf, they have basically said that these ayat are applicable to the people of bid'ah. You are not allowed to accompany the people of innovation. That's from the book of Allah. As from the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. If you see those people who follow those things which are unclear, they are following, their desires, their zayg. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ سَمَّاهُمُ اللَّهُ فَاحْذَرُوهُم. He says to Aisha, those are the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has named, so then be warned of them. In another hadith which is sahih, he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يحمل هذا العلم من كل خلف عدول. This ilm, this knowledge is taken from every khalaf udul, meaning a person who comes in succession from the ulama of the salaf, and he is adul, he is adil, he is a person who is upright in his knowledge. ينفون عنه تحريف الغالين وانتهاء المبتلين وتبعين الجاهلين. He is free from any kind of ghulu and excessiveness. He is free from any kind of negation of, leniency and negating things. But ta'wil, jahilin, and he doesn't give any kind of false interpretation based upon jahl. And with this we have many narrations from the ulama of the salaf, from the companions, Ibn Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with them all. Ibn Mas'ud, for example, he says, do not sit, لا يجاز أحد من أهل البدعة, do not sit with the people of bid'ah. Ibn Umar, radiallahu anh, he says, if you find a person saying such and such, such and such, فلا يجعل يسمع منه كراهية أن يقع في قلبه شيء. Do not sit with them so that something can then enter into your heart. And then from the generations that came after that, Ibn Sirin, well-known statement, you will find this even in the English translation of the introduction of Sahih Muslim. إِنَّ هَذَا الْعِلْمِ دِينٌ. Your knowledge is your religion. فَانْظُرُوا أَمَّا تَأْخُذُونَ دِينَكُمْ. So then be careful on who you take your knowledge from, because it is your religion. He says in another narration, إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْفِتْنَةِ, when deviant sects appeared and this fitna came about, Kunna, then we started to say, someone, and then we started to say, who are your men? Tell us who your men are. And from the four Imams we have this also. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he says, alaykum bi athar salaf. Follow the narrations and the methodology of the salaf, and do not follow the intellects of people, even if it was to surprise you and make you feel astonished and you become happy with it. Imam Malik, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, لا تجد قوما يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر يوادون من حاد الله ورسوله. You will not find a group of people who believe in Allah and the last day, that they will go and oppose the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that this refers to the people of bid'ah. Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam al-Bayhaqi describes Imam al-Shafi'i. Imam al-Bayhaqi, one of the ulama of the Shafi'i, he describes Imam al-Bayhaqi in saying that he used to be firm against the people of bid'ah and he never used to sit with them. Imam Ahmad says you're not even allowed to give them salam or respond to their salam. All of these narrations, all of these ayat, all of these ahadith, all of these athar and narrations that have come to us from the salaf explain to us a very important principle in our religion, is that you are not allowed to sit and aid the people of bid'ah. And with this, now we've got something which is established from the time of the Salaf. Now, in our contemporary times, we are finding people saying, well, Aqidah is one thing, Manhaj is another. As long as he's okay in his Aqidah, he's Salafi in his Aqeedah. It doesn't matter about his manhaj. It's not correct, as you can see here from what we have seen from the ayat and these narrations. Some people will say, well, take the good and leave the bad. He says things which remind you about Allah and gives you a boost of iman, etc. As for the badness, just leave that. You can see it's bad clearly, so just leave that. Again, that's a false principle. It doesn't exist. Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, in answering this question directly, he said you are not allowed to sit with the people of bid'ah even if you are learning Arabic. Learning Arabic is, you could argue, is not connected to the religion directly. Not directly. He says you're not allowed to take from the people of bid'ah in this manner. Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, the list goes on in how the ulama have said that you are not allowed to take ilm from the people of innovation. You must be careful on who you are taking knowledge from, and it must be a person of sound manhaj and aqeedah. And there is no difference between manhaj and aqeedah. Imam Barbahari in the beginning of Sharh Sunnah, as we've explained previously, Sunnah here Islam, what Islam huwa Sunnah. The Sunnah is Islam and Islam is the Sunnah. There is no differentiation between manhaj and aqeedah. It is all one. But the people of bid'ah have tried to divide it and said, well, aqeedah might be one thing, manhaj might be another. Take the good and leave the bad. Like we have said from the contemporaries, we've just mentioned some names, but other names, Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad and others, they have said these principles, they don't exist aslan. There is no foundation for it. It's completely based on what we have said on, on this clip here with some of the narrations before, and you will find the books of the Salaf full with narrations similar to this, where you have to abandon the people of bid'ah. Aqeedah book of Al-Likai, Ibn Battah, he was very stern against the people of bid'ah. And many of them, these books have been authored from the time of the Salaf and even after the Salaf, where they have talked about not being allowed to aid and sit and accompany and support the people of bid'ah. Therefore, you're not allowed to seek ilm from them, and there is no difference of opinion in that at all whatsoever. You're not allowed to invite them, you're not allowed to call them, you're not allowed to try and benefit from them, and you need to seek an alternative from those people who will benefit you from the people of Sunnah. And if you're not able to find it, then look for an alternative, and you will inshallah find something, or at least then be patient until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up something for you. But here we have another set of questions, and I'm going to just put it in here because we're talking about it already. How do you then know that the person is upon sound manhaj? And the answer to that question is that the person has to be, now the ulama have said that you can know that a person is firm upon his aqeedah, and this is something that we will study inshallah in Jarh al-Ta'deel in year 3, which is that there are two ways: tansis or istifal. Tansis is when the ulama recommend another alim and they give him tazkiyah. They say, here, this person is upon the firm methodology of the Salaf al-Salih, take from him, benefit from him, etc. This is known as tansis. And then there is istifal. Istifal is when a person becomes known to be a person of the Sunnah, but he might not necessarily have any kind of direct tazkiyah from the ulama. He's saying the same things as the ulama, and the ulama might even quote him, perhaps. This is a form of istifal. And this has been mentioned in the books of Jarh wa Ta'deel. So how do you then know that the person is upon the correct manhaj? Either one of these two. And I would say the first one is probably the most important one, and the most, I would say, what's the word for it? The most sought after one, meaning look for people who are known to the people of ilm. As for istifada, and we're living in a time now, you might think that it's istifada, it might not necessarily be istifada, right? So go with those people who have tazkiyah. Right, now here's another one. So that's clear now. When a person has been recommended by the people of ilm, then you know that the person is upon the correct methodology, benefit from him. If he doesn't have that, then refrain until his affair has been made clear. Okay, right. What if now this is really important because we're living in a time when there is so much confusion. What if a person has tansis, he's got tazkiyah, he's got recommendations, but also people are warning against him at the same time? They'll say, no, he's not from the people of the correct methodology, etc. Then what do you do in that scenario? In that scenario, you go with the daleel, because taqleed in our religion has been made haram. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. So if a person has come to you and people are saying good things about him and they're saying bad things about him, ask the people of knowledge. And if a person of knowledge says no, don't take from him, then what do you do in that scenario? You ask for the dalil, you follow the dalil. It could be that the person of knowledge has got it wrong in this issue. And there are many examples of this. We've given them recently when it came to Lumat al-I'tiqad about Muwafaquddin ibn Qudama, an imam from Ahl al-Sunnah. People have differed about his hal and his status and his manhaj. If that's an imam from nearly 1,000 years ago, what about us masakeen living in the West? Of course we're going to have people say things which could be a little bit confusing. What do? You go with the dalil. What do? You go to clarify. You go to the brother himself, you go to the sheikh himself and ask, do you actually believe in these things that they are saying about you? Are you upon the methodology which is sahih or not? And these things will be made clear, and then you will have the evidence. But if a person has said something out of mistake from the people of ilm, then we respect that. We respect that. We will say, okay, that's his opinion, but it might not necessarily be correct, just like any other issue. This is because taqleed is made haram in the religion. Therefore, if you've got a person who has been spoken for and spoken against, what's his manhaj? Go with the dalil. Take it back to Ahlul Ilm and ask the people of knowledge, and then it will be made clear. If it is still not clear to you, then you go back to the asl. What's the asl? Refrain until it becomes clear to you what that person's manhaj is. Really important topic, this one. We haven't given it justice. It requires a lot more of narrations and principles and practice and examples, etc. Some of these have been given when we, like I said, went through Sharh Sunnah of Imam Barbahari, but I think this is sufficient as an answer for now, because I think we have given some very important principles and understandings and exposed non-principles, non-maxims, non-starters whatsoever. Take the good, leave the bad. That doesn't exist. I will say though one thing though, what they use when it comes to that principle is a well-known principle when it comes to fiqh, which is fiqh al-muwazana. Fiqh al-muwazana is when a person looks at the greater good and less of the evils. This is well known. You will find this in the books of fiqh from the Madahib, Ibn Taymiyyah and others. They will say fiqh al-muwazana applies to us taking knowledge. Meaning, if you can see that there is a person who is spreading goodness, take that goodness, and if he also has some badness, then leave that badness. They will say that this is fiqh al-muwazana, you will find the books of fiqh. But this is not correct. Because fiqh al-muwazana is talking about those things which are practical. Things which are halal and haram. Should I take car insurance or not? Okay, now you need to look at the muwazana. Where's the greater good and less of the evil? When it comes to seeking knowledge, this is the core foundation of your religion. You're basing everything that you know and learn from the person that you are taking knowledge from. You can't have fiqh al-muwazana in that. So what they will try and use are principles which exist somewhere in the religion and try and apply it to Aqeedah and Manhaj in an incorrect manner. Take the good and leave the bad. They will try and say that this is fiqh al-muwazana, but we will say no, that's not correct. Because fiqh al-muwazana refers to those practical aspects. That's number one. Number two, fiqh al-muwazana also is done by an alim, not by lay people. So would you take this principle of fiqh al-muwazana and say to a lay person, what do you think about car insurance? There is a goodness in it, but there is also badness in it. That's not his role. And another reason why fiqh al-muwazana does not apply for the taking of knowledge is because fiqh al-muwazana, like we have said in this just second point, is only done by the people of ilm. Now this is really important. A person will then say, okay, such and such scholar, let's use a person from the past, as Ibn Mas'ud said, do not use the people who are alive as examples in the fitna, because those people are alive are not safe from fitna. So someone from the past, for example, let's say Imam al-Bayhaqi. Imam al-Bayhaqi, one of the leaders of Ahl al-Hadith and leaders of the Shafi'i madhab. It is well known that he fell into some forms of ta'wil when it comes to the sifat of Allah al-ikhtiyariya, meaning the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Right. We make excuses for him. We will say that he is still from Ahl Sunnah, he's one of our ulama, he's from the ulama of Ahl Sunnah. Right. Can you take knowledge from him when it comes to Aqeedah? We will say fiqh al-muwazana now applies to the person who has knowledge. If you have knowledge and you are able to read his books and benefit from his books, especially in Aqeedah, and say, look, here's the mistake of Imam Bayhaqi, where he says rida is not rida. Rida means Allah wanting good for his servants or rewarding his servants, because Allah cannot show pleasure. We will say, okay, well, if you are able to distinguish between what Imam Bayhaqi is saying and the actual stance of Ahlul Sunnah, then you can. This is now another practical application of fiqh al-muwazana. And this is why you will find the ulama using and benefiting from people who may have had mistakes in some of their works. Ibn Hajar, An-Nawawi, and the list goes on. Zamakhshari, even. Zamakhshari is a leader in the Arabic language, but he was an ardent Mu'tazili. Suyuti is a well-known example. Ibn Mulaqqin, recently I came across something from Ibn Mulaqqin where he says that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is alive in his grave, precisely what the people of Tasawwuf say. But he is still one of the leaders of the Shafi'i madhab, still one of a respected authority when it comes to hadith and the sciences of hadith. Therefore, the ulama have still continued benefiting from these people. How? Because they have the application of fiqh al-muwazan. They know where the mistakes are. As for the lay people, you can't leave them interested on that. You can't say to them, take the good, leave the bad. That is something which is specific for the alim. Therefore, that principle, take the good, leave the bad, does not exist in its totality. But it can exist within the realm of academia with its conditions. This has been very lengthy, but it's an important topic, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us firm upon the manhaj which is Salafi, and that He keeps us steadfast and our feet steadfast upon that way which is the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and He protects us from any kind of deviation or anything which is not beloved to Him. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.